Chapter 51. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Chen Ye stopped his attack, then lifted his transformation, and his body gradually returned to normal. Then he slowly walked to Wanda, and Chen Ye showed a look of surprise and pampering. Finally, I'm willing to come back, Wanda. Chen Ye said softly. Are you okay? Chen Ye, are you injured? Wanda first stepped forward to check if Chen Ye was injured. It's okay, it's okay. Look, I'm fine. Chen Ye answered Wanda happily. Wanda walked around Chen Ye and carefully observed every part of Chen Ye's body to make sure he was not injured. Wanda was relieved. Then Wanda looked at Magneto, who was lying on the ground, with a complicated expression. In fact, when Wanda saw Chen Ye preparing to deal with Magneto, she wanted Chen Ye to deal with Magneto, the unfaithful man. For a moment, after all, Wanda had not seen this so-called father for more than 20 years, so she had no good feelings. For him, finding the biological father is one thing, and recognizing him is another, but until the last moment, Wanda decided to save Magneto first. After all, her brother had not seen his biological father, still have to give Pietro a chance to choose. After all, he also has the right to know who his biological father is. Magneto on the side felt his heart was about to break, because he was the one who was about to be killed. Fireman and Nightwalker hurried forward to support Magneto. Tony also came over and Chen Ye teased, "Oh, Chen Ye, this is your little lover, not bad." There was a hint of teasing and joking in his tone. Chen Ye did not answer Tony's words, and his eyes never left Wanda. Their eyes met in the air, as if there was a silent emotion being transmitted. Ahem, hey, pay attention. There are still people here. Tony on the side couldn't stand the couple anymore. Chen Ye turned his head awkwardly, his eyes wandering around, as if looking for something. He suggested, why don't we go into the restaurant and sit down? Chen Ye knew that Wanda had gone to find her biological father during this period, and she also found Magneto. This can also explain why Magneto, who had no intersection with her, came to the door, and Chen Ye did not feel murderous during the battle with Magneto. Wanda on the side walked into the restaurant first after hearing this, and Magneto and her two men followed shamelessly behind her. Chen Ye looked at Tony, only to see Tony refuse. Forget it, there are still a lot of things to deal with. Since it's safe here, I'll leave first. Then he put on the armored helmet and prepared to fly back. Chen Ye quickly said to Tony, wait. Thank you. Tony glanced at Chen Ye, and then took off directly. But Chen Ye could see the system prompt. Ding. Congratulations to the host, Tony Stark's favorability has been raised to 3 stars. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained an item, a new element blueprint. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 20 points of friendship. Chen Ye was a little surprised when he saw the reward this time. This time it was not an attribute, but a blueprint. He threw the blueprint back to Tony and asked him to study it himself, although Chen Ye felt that this reward was a bit of a loss. After all, Chen Ye knew that the latest element was in the video Tony's father gave him. The current matter is the most important. Chen Ye thought about it and went straight into the restaurant, in the Midtown area of Hell's Kitchen. Inside the headquarters of Vangala I, this powerful leader, his opponents are all the hostile gangs in the Midtown area. His goal was clear, that is, to completely clean up all the gang forces in the Midtown area, so that they could no longer gain a foothold in the Midtown area. So this time, the Vangala family can be said to have mobilized all its forces, except for Vangala I, who was in charge of the base camp. The other 7 family guardians were assigned to various battlefields in the Midtown area. They each led a team, ready to fight a life-and-death battle with the enemy gangs. Vangala I sat on the gorgeous sofa, his eyes were firm and sharp, as if he could see through all the fog and get to the essence of things. There was a calmness and confidence on his face, which was the unique temperament given to him by years and experience. His fingers tapped the armrest of the sofa lightly, as if silently telling his determination and perseverance. This time, I should be able to fulfill the promise with Chen Ye. Vangala I and Chen Ye had a naive promise when they were young, to clean up, eliminate all the gang forces in Hell's Kitchen and return peace to this chaotic place. That promise, for Vangala I, is not only a promise, but also a belief and pursuit. Chen Ye, his close friend, used just 1 year to eliminate all the gang forces in the East District, bringing long-lost tranquility to Hell's Kitchen. However, Vongala I failed to achieve their goal as promised. With the power of his family, although he has made some progress in the Midtown area, he has not yet been able to completely eliminate the gang forces. This became a heavy stone in his heart, pressing him to the point of being breathless. He knew that Chen Ye did not mean to blame him, but he felt that he had no face to see Chen Ye, so he knew that Chen Ye had returned to Hell's Kitchen but still did not dare to see him. If it were not for the gang gathering a few days ago, Vongala I would have been embarrassed to see Chen Ye. But after today, everything has gotten better. Vongala I took a deep breath and said firmly. His eyes flashed with determination and hope, as if he had seen the victory in the future. In every corner of the Midtown area, the war was raging and the smoke was everywhere. The members of the Vongala family were brave and fearless, and the weapons in their hands flashed coldly in the firelight. The people of the enemy gang were like a mob. Although they were numerous, they lacked organization and cooperation, and were soon beaten to pieces by the warriors of the Vongala family. In another corner of the city, Arnold, the guardian of the cloud, stood alone on the roof of a high-rise building. He was a lonely and arrogant man. He did not bring anyone with him and completed the cleanup of the enemy gang alone. He said to the phone in a low voice, "Next time, if it is such a rubbish mission, don't call me back." His voice was full of impatience and dissatisfaction, as if this mission was too insignificant for him. On the other hand, on another battlefield, the members of the Vongala family defeated other gangs without relying on the power of the Guardians. As for their captain, the Thunder Guardian Lonbao, he was lying on the ground sleeping quietly, completely ignoring the battle around him. Finally, the Mist Guardian D. Speedo of the Vongala family and several other Guardians completed their mission and returned to the base camp. He sat casually aside and said to Ishii, "The central city is still far from enough, otherwise we will annex other areas together." There was a spark of ambition in his eyes, as if the whole world was under his control. So far, the Vongala family has become the largest underground force in the central city, under the system prompt that Chen Ye had not had time to look at. Congratulations to the host. Vongala I's favorability has been raised to full stars. Congratulations to the host. Vongala I has become your family. Congratulations to the host. Get a little family point. Congratulations to the host. Currently have 6/10 family members. Chapter 52. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very happy, and the old man was very happy. Good luck to the restaurant. So you found your biological father during your time away, and that father is Magneto. Chen Ye pretended to be unaware and looked at Wanda in surprise. In fact, Chen Ye knew that Wanda's biological father was Magneto, and Aurora seemed to be Magneto's daughter. Magneto was really a scumbag. Wanda nodded. Chen Ye said with some displeasure, "So you know that Wanda is your daughter, then don't you know that I am Wanda's savior? Do you think I am easy to bully? Why don't you get out of here and follow me into my restaurant?" That I wondered if this Magneto was sick. Wanda and Pietro were saved by Chen Ye, but they attacked him for no reason, which made Chen Ye think that the gangsters are so powerful now that they can invite Magneto. Chen Ye already asked himself that he was good-tempered. If it were someone else, he might have killed Magneto directly. Unexpectedly, Magneto followed him in shamelessly. Magneto's eyes were also full of dissatisfaction. "Wanda is my daughter. She doesn't want to go back to the Brotherhood of Mutants with me. She said she just wants to go back to Hell's Kitchen. I followed you and I just came to see if you have the ability to protect Wanda." After all, Magneto finally knew that he had such a daughter and son, and they still had powerful superpowers. Naturally, he wanted them to join the Brotherhood and follow him to save mutants. Who knew that this daughter was unwilling to recognize him and was only willing to return to Hell's Kitchen to follow her savior Chen Ye? Magneto naturally wanted to see what kind of magic this Chen Ye had, so that Wanda could stay here. Chen Ye also made a gesture to send him away. "Now you have seen my strength, you can leave." Seeing Chen Ye chasing people away, Magneto closed his eyes pretending not to see it. The night girl on the side saw Chen Ye's impatience and hurriedly added, "Our leader wants to see Pietro." There was a bit of earnestness in her tone. Chen Ye's sight turned to Wanda, and their eyes met in the air, as if they were communicating something silently. Wanda nodded helplessly, with a bit of apology in her eyes. "Pietro has the right to know who his biological father is," so let them meet. If Magneto doesn't leave after watching, you don't have to do anything. I will also drive them away. Wanda assured Chen Ye. Chen Ye looked at Wanda's determined eyes, and his unhappiness was slightly relieved. He knew that Wanda made such a decision out of concern for Pietro. Although Chen Ye was unhappy with Magneto, he could understand Wanda's approach. After all, it's impossible for Pietro to kill his biological father before he even saw him, so, he decided to give Pietro a chance and also give Magneto a chance. He believed that Pietro had regarded him as a family member and would not betray him easily, and Magneto, if he really had plans for Pietro, he had to get past him first, so, Chen Ye got up and walked to the sofa in the deepest part of the restaurant and sat down. Although he agreed to let Magneto and others stay, he did not intend to take the initiative to deal with them. Wanda obviously didn't want to deal with Magneto and the others, and took the initiative to make tea for Chen Ye. The atmosphere became extremely awkward for a while. After a while, Pietro and John Wick came back. Sitting on the sofa, Chen Ye asked curiously, "Why didn't Deadpool come back with you?" John Wick said helplessly, "He took the dog Deadpool to find other members of the Hand. Wanting to make more extra money." And told Master Yi that the matter had been resolved, but he and Lao Ma went upstairs first. Pietro, who was standing by, saw her sister coming back and ran to her happily. "Sister, you're back. Why did you go out for so long this time?" Then Wanda hugged Pietro, and then signaled with her eyes to look around. It was then that Pietro noticed Magneto and the other two next door. Pietro was a little confused and spread his hands. Then she asked Wanda, "Who are these three?" Nightwalker stood up and shook hands with Pietro. "Hello, Pietro. I'm from the Brotherhood of Mutants." Then she introduced him to Pietro. "This is Magneto, my boss, and your biological father." Hearing this news, Pietro's pupils dilated involuntarily. He looked at Magneto in front of him in disbelief, and then quickly turned his head to looking at Wanda behind him. His eyes were filled with questions and expectations. Wanda nodded. "Impossible, absolutely impossible. My parents have long been dead." Pietro's tone was full of determination and doubt. "Child, I am indeed your biological father. I am sorry that I found you so late. I have made you suffer." Magneto slowly spoke to Pietro at this time. Pietro was stunned. He looked at Magneto's eyes as if he was looking at a stranger. His heart was beating wildly and his thoughts were running wildly. All this was too sudden and caught him off guard. "Humph, in my heart my biological parents have long been dead. My family only has my sister Wanda and Chen Ye." Pietro still refused to accept this fact. He didn't want to have anything to do with this so-called father. "Child, if you want, you can leave here with me and return to our home, the Brotherhood of Mutants. There are many of your kind there, and I will try to make it up to you." Magneto still didn't give up. He tried to impress his son with family affection. "I told you, I don't have a biological father. My home is in Hell's Kitchen. I'm not going anywhere." Then Pietro wanted to use fast movement to leave. However, Chen Ye grabbed his arm tightly and stopped him from leaving. Chen Ye's eyes were firm and powerful. He looked directly at Magneto with an unquestionable domineering tone. "You have seen what you should see. Isn't it time to get out? Pietro has said that he doesn't want to accept you as his so-called biological father. They are my family and they are not going anywhere. Where were you when they needed someone to accompany them the most? Where were you when their adoptive parents were blown to death?" Chen Ye's words were full of questioning and anger. "So now you don't have to pretend to show your fatherly love here. If you don't leave, then I can only leave your life. Just now I spared your life because you are Wanda's biological father. If you dare to say another word, don't blame me for not respecting the elderly and loving the young. You don't think that people who can stay in Hell's Kitchen are good people." Chen Ye issued the final expulsion order. Wanda on the side also made a fighting posture, and her hands had already used chaos magic. It was obvious that she was on Chen Ye's side. Magneto looked at Chen Ye, and he knew that this man was not joking. He felt Chen Ye's determination and strength, and understood that he had no way out. At this time, Chen Ye's mobile phone rang. Chen Ye answered the phone. "What?" Vanessa and her children were attacked by Mrs. Gao, and they need support. Chapter 53. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the call, the two sides were in chaos. Chen Ye hung up the phone with an ugly face and glanced at Magneto. The call just now was from Bullseye, and there was a sense of panic in his voice, and he was obviously in a lot of trouble. Bullseye told Chen Ye that he was carrying out the task assigned by Kingpin to clean up the Irish gang, and then he received the news that Kingpin's family was attacked and called Chen Ye immediately. Chen Ye held the phone tightly and frowned. He knew that Mrs. Gao's move must be because Kingpin had threatened her position. Moreover, the target this time was Kingpin's family, and it was obvious that he wanted to cut the grass and wipe it out. At this time, Chen Ye no longer had extra patience and words, and he directly launched a chaos magic at Magneto. The power of this magic was so strong that even Magneto felt the pressure. He had to defend himself with all his strength and used magnetism to dissolve the attack, knowing that Chen Ye was indeed in urgent need. He got up and left. Before leaving, Magneto said to Chen Ye with a complicated look in his eyes, "Thank you. Take good care of them for me." His voice was low and powerful, as if he was entrusting something very important. At the same time, a new prompt appeared on the system screen. Congratulations to the host. Max Eisenhart successfully added the host as a friend. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the attribute and creating a magnetic field. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained 10 points of friendship. Do you want to merge immediately? Yes. Chen Ye did not hesitate. The next second, he felt a strong force surging into his body, which was Magneto's ability. He now has control over this power and can manipulate the magnetic field at will. Without stopping any longer, Chen Ye immediately used the ability to move quickly, instantly disappeared in the restaurant, and rushed towards the location of Kingpin. On the other side, Jean Bing was no longer as domineering and calm as before. He was wearing a black suit, but it was obvious that there were scratches on it, as if it was proof of being attacked. His eyes were full of anxiety and worry, and he stared at his wife Vanessa and Richard, who were gradually surrounded by the killers of the hand, while Jean Bing was struggling to resist Mrs. Gao's attack. He tried his best to protect his wife and children. His hands were like lightning, quickly fending off Mrs. Gao's fierce attack, and at the same time, his eyes never left Vanessa and the children, always paying attention to their safety. However, despite Jean Bing's strong strength, his current situation seemed embarrassing. He had to fight against Mrs. Gao's attack, and always be vigilant against the sneak attacks of the killers of the hand, and he had to do his best to protect his family. This dilemma put him under great pressure, and his face was full of fatigue and anxiety. While doing his best to resist the attack, Jean Bing cursed, "Damn it, don't touch my wife." His voice was full of anger. At the same time, Jean Bing was also deeply remorseful and regretful. He blamed himself for not anticipating such a situation. He had clearly received Chen Ye's reminder, and had arranged many men to protect his family, and even he had always been by his wife and children's side. He thought that such an arrangement was foolproof, but he didn't expect that this time Mrs. Gao personally took action and brought almost half of the hand killers in New York to attack. He thought it was foolproof, but he didn't expect that this time Mrs. Gao personally took action and brought almost half of the hand killers in New York. Jean Bing's heart was full of pain and regret. He couldn't imagine what would happen if he lost Vanessa and the child. He gritted his teeth tightly, clenched his hands into fists, and tried his best to suppress the pain in his heart. His attacks became more crazy, and every attack was accompanied by endless anger and despair. While dealing with Jean Bing's attack, Madame Gao said in a cold voice, "You should have thought about this day since you entered the gang, Jean Bing." Her eyes revealed a kind of cruelty and indifference, as if she had completely lost human emotions. Madame Gao also intensified her attack, leaving Jean no time to take care of his wife and children. At this time, the killers of the hand were gradually approaching Vanessa and Richard. They brutally chopped down the bodyguards who protected them, preparing to kill Vanessa and Richard. Vanessa hugged the child tightly and closed her eyes. She already felt the threat of death. Jean Bing, who was standing aside, also saw this scene. His heart was broken. He wanted to resist Madame Gao's attack, tried his best to rush over to protect them, but was hit in the legs by Madame Gao and fell heavily to the ground. At this tense moment, a majestic figure suddenly broke into the chaotic scene. A powerful force burst out from the stranger, and he quickly moved to Vanessa's side, knocked down the killer who was about to kill her with one punch, and then quickly knocked down all the killers who besieged Vanessa. "No one is allowed to hurt my Vanessa," the stranger roared, his voice full of determination. He stood in front of Vanessa, like an unshakable mountain, blocking all dangers for her. Madame Gao and Jean Bing were surprised by the sudden appearance of the stranger. Madame Gao squinted her eyes, looked at the back carefully, and suddenly recognized who he was. "You?" Madame Gao asked coldly, with a hint of doubt and threat in her tone. "Do you know who you provoked?" Jean Bing breathed a sigh of relief and was glad that the stranger appeared. He said with a little doubt, "Thank you, friend, but how come it became your Vanessa?" Hearing Kingpin's words, the stranger turned around. Mrs. Gao looked around in surprise and shouted, "Kingpin!" This stranger looked very similar to Kingpin, almost exactly the same. But if you look closely, you can find that he is slightly older than Kingpin, his eyes are sharper, and his whole person exudes a more fierce temperament. Mrs. Gao's surprise is not unreasonable. How can there be two Kingpins in this world? And this Kingpin who suddenly appeared seems to be more dangerous than the one lying on the ground. Fisk, the Kingpin of the parallel universe, ignored Mrs. Gao, but looked down at the Kingpin who was lying on the ground and said, "With your strength, how can you protect Vanessa?" "Let me protect it." There was a trace of contempt on the corner of his mouth. At this time, Chen Ye also arrived at the scene using high-speed movement and first helped Kingpin who was lying on the ground up. Then Chen Ye first used his new ability, magnetism, to control all the magnetic objects around him. They flew towards Mrs. Gao like arrows and wrapped her tightly. Mrs. Gao looked at all this in horror and said, "Impossible, how can you have this ability? This is not one." Her eyes were full of despair, but Chen Ye did not answer, but just looked at her coldly. Then, he tightened the surrounding magnetic force. Mrs. Gao's scream stopped abruptly, and her life was ruthlessly taken away. Then Chen Ye turned to Fisk, who was standing next to Vanessa, and asked, "Mr. Kingpin from another parallel universe, what are you doing in our universe?" Chapter 54. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The world is full of love. Parallel universe. Jean Bing, who was standing aside, looked at Fisk, who was older and more experienced than him, with a complicated expression and said to himself. Fisk ignored Jean Bing's doubts. He slowly turned around, squatted down, and looked at the terrified Vanessa and Richard gently. His eyes were full of tenderness and care, as if they were his relatives. "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. I finally see you. Vanessa." Fisk's voice was trembling with excitement. In order to find Vanessa and Richard, he went through countless hardships, he spent countless manpower and financial resources, and even built a collider at all costs, just to bring Vanessa and Richard back to him. Fisk tried to hug Vanessa, but this move immediately aroused Kingpin's dissatisfaction. He quickly rushed forward and punched Fisk. However, because Kingpin was seriously injured, the power of this punch was greatly reduced. Fisk easily dodged sideways, and then quickly counterattacked, kicking Kingpin out with one foot. Kingpin's body drew an arc in the air and then fell heavily to the ground. "How can you, a weak guy, protect Vanessa?" Fisk said coldly, "This world is really unfair. Why can you, who is so weak, still have Vanessa, while my Vanessa has passed away?" His expression became ferocious, and there was a crazy light in his eyes. Chen Ye's eyes flashed with uncontrollable anger. He really couldn't stand Fisk's arrogance. He waved his hands gently, and a strong magnetic force surged from his fingertips, instantly attracting the surrounding steel bars. These steel bars seemed to be pulled by an invisible force, rushing towards Fisk and binding him tightly. Then he signaled with his eyes for Jean Bing to send the mother and child out. Although Jean Bing was extremely surprised and confused about this parallel universe that suddenly appeared, he knew in his heart that the safety of Vanessa and the child was the most important thing now. "Thank you, child. Thanks to you today." Jean Bing, the gangster boss who used to be arrogant and domineering, showed sincere gratitude on his face. Vanessa and Richard standing beside him also looked at Chen Ye with grateful eyes. So, with complicated emotions, he hugged Vanessa and the child tightly and quickly left this dangerous place. On the way out, Jean Bing's heart was turbulent. He looked at his wife and children in his arms and felt extremely distressed and guilty. He had been trying to protect them, but this time, he almost put them in a desperate situation. He couldn't imagine how he would react if Vanessa and Richard met with an accident due to his negligence. Perhaps the Kingpin in that parallel universe had also felt this way. He may have experienced the pain of losing his loved ones and tasted the bitterness of failure. Vanessa, Vanessa. Let me go quickly, I want to find Vanessa. Fisk was like a madman, and even if he was tied up, he only cared about Vanessa. Chen Ye looked at the Kingpin in the parallel universe in front of him, and knew that he had traveled through countless time and space in order to find Vanessa. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Sure enough, without him, Kingpin's wife and children would definitely be killed. Tell me, which parallel universe are you from? Chen Ye asked uncertainly. Despite his guesses in his heart, Fisk slowly regained his sanity and began to observe Chen Ye carefully. His eyes were full of doubts and vigilance. Obviously, he didn't remember having such a master around him. Who are you? I don't remember having a master like you around me. It seems that you have a good relationship with Kingpin here. Fisk asked. I am his godson. Chen Ye replied. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect that someone like me would be a godchild. Kill me. Fisk suddenly laughed after hearing this answer. His laughter was full of ridicule and self-mockery, as if he didn't believe Chen Ye's words at all. Chen Ye did not answer immediately. He began to observe Fisk's expression and reaction carefully. He noticed that Fisk's eyes revealed a complex emotion, which made him curious and asked, Are you really willing to die? You haven't found Vanessa yet. After hearing Vanessa's name, Fisk's eyes were filled with a trace of tenderness and grief flashed across his face immediately. He lowered his head and was silent for a while, then looked up at Chen Ye and smiled bitterly. I am Kingpin, do you think I will beg for mercy? If I beg for mercy again, will you let me go? I should have died a long time ago, but I didn't expect to see Vanessa before I died. I am satisfied. The Vanessa here has her own Kingpin. I should also go find my Vanessa. Let's do it. Didn't the Kingpin here teach you to root out the grass? Chen Ye stared at Fisk in front of him. He had already seen the determination to die in the other's eyes. He stopped wasting words and clenched his right hand. The steel bars tied to Fisk seemed to sense his will and clasped their hands together, turning into a steel cage. Fisk's vitality gradually disappeared, his eyes became empty, and the whole person was like a statue without a soul. Chen Ye did not relax his vigilance. His eyes scanned the surroundings, looking for possible prey like a cheetah. You hid well, but you should come out after watching for so long. Chen Ye said coldly, his voice echoed in the empty field, but no one responded. Do you think you can avoid my detection by being invisible? Chen Ye's mouth curled up slightly, with disdain in his tone. Do you want me to ask you to come out? Then Chen Ye cast a chaos magic at an empty wall. No, 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 I have no ill intentions, please don't attack. Said a voice that sounded quite young. As the voice fell, the seemingly ordinary wall suddenly rippled, as if a stone was thrown into the lake, and the waves spread. Then, a figure slowly emerged from it. I saw a figure in a black Spider-Man costume appeared in front of Chen Ye. He made a stop gesture, which obviously meant surrender. When Chen Ye saw this black Spider-Man, he already knew which parallel universe it was. Little Black Spider. Take off the hood, Chen Ye ordered. The black Spider-Man hesitated for a moment, obviously not wanting to take off the hood. He muttered quietly, Sir, this is not good. I need to hide my identity. Chen Ye replied unhappily, Stop pretending, Miles. There are not many people who can be invisible and wear a black Spider-Man costume. You have been exposed long ago. Chen Ye saw at a glance that the black Spider-Man in front of him was the protagonist of the animated film in his previous life. After all, he was the only black Spider-Man Miles in the multiverse. Chapter 55. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were very close. Sir, how do you know me? Miles was so surprised when he heard Chen Ye call out his name that he took off his hood immediately. He thought that no one in this universe would know him, but the mysterious person in front of him called out his name easily and knew that he was not from this universe, which surprised him. Miles is an 18-year-old young man who has just entered society and has not experienced much. He was not too wary of Chen Ye. but was very curious and wanted to know how the other party knew his true identity. Chen Ye looked at Miles with a smile in his eyes. He did not answer Miles' question directly, but asked back, "You don't need to know how I know. Are you here to hunt down Kingpin? Is there another Spider-Man named Peter Parker in your world?" Miles was stunned by Chen Ye's question, but he quickly reacted. He nodded and replied, "Yes, sir. According to the plan, I would first send the Spider-Mans of each world back to their respective universes, and then destroy the Collider. But in the end, something unexpected happened. Kingpin and I didn't know why we were both sent to this parallel universe by the Collider, and then I followed Kingpin all the way here." Miles scratched his head and seemed a little confused. He was obviously puzzled as to why he appeared in this strange parallel universe. "As for our world, there was originally a Spider-Man named Peter Parker. But he has been killed by Kingpin," Miles said, with anger in his tone. He stared at Kingpin's body on the ground, and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "Spider-Man team. So many Spider-Mans have gone to your time and space." Chen Ye wanted to make sure whether it was the same as the version he thought. Miles was immediately interested when he heard this question. He answered happily, "Not many, just 5 Spider-Mans," he counted on his fingers. "The first one I know is Peter B. Parker from the future universe. He is my master and taught me a lot. The second one is Gwen Spider-Man. She is very cool and agile. The third one is Penny Spider-Man from 2033. She has a unique black and white style and is very mysterious. There is also a Spider-Ham who is not a human. He is very interesting and always brings us laughter." Miles turned his head and looked at Chen Ye, and asked with some expectation, "I wonder what your name is, sir?" After listening to Miles' introduction, Chen Ye had a rough idea in his mind. This should be the plot of Spider-Man's parallel universe, but it is slightly different. The original ending was that Miles completed the task perfectly and stayed in his own universe, but now, due to unknown reasons, the space-time cracks created by the Collider brought him and Kingpin to this universe. Together, this means that the ending of that universe may not be as perfect as the original. Chen Ye carefully observed Miles, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart that Peter Parker in that time and space was really the most successful one among many parallel universes. He had wealth, a happy family and a lovely daughter. However, fate was so cruel to him. He was eventually brutally killed by Kingpin. He had a chance to escape, but in order to protect Miles in front of him, he chose to sacrifice himself. "My name is Chen Ye, and Kingpin in this universe is my godfather," Chen Ye replied. Miles became alert immediately after hearing the news. He stared at Chen Ye closely, his whole body tense, ready for defense. In his opinion, Chen Ye had a close relationship with Kingpin in this universe, which made him have to guard against potential dangers. Chen Ye looked at Miles' reaction and laughed in his heart. He said calmly, "Don't worry, little Blackie." Chen Ye also knew that he had said something wrong, and quickly explained, "I just said it casually, it was a slip of the tongue. Don't worry, little black spider. Didn't you see that I have killed the Kingpin of your universe? If I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago, right? What are your plans now? Can you return to your universe by yourself?" Chen Ye asked curiously. After all, as far as Chen Ye knows, their space-time does not have a collider, and they do not have the ability to travel through parallel universes. Miles scratched his head after hearing this, and looked at Chen Ye's eyes, full of expectations. "Mr. Chen Ye, since you know that I am from a parallel universe, there should be a way for me to go back." In Miles's opinion, Mr. Chen Ye, who is knowledgeable and experienced, should be able to take him back. "I know the way, but I don't have the ability, or I can't find them." Chen Ye is telling the truth. Master Gu Yi, Miss America, and Doctor Strange all have this ability. The problem is that Miss America may not be in this time and space yet, and Chen Ye really doesn't want to find Gu Yi. Now Doctor Strange in their universe is still working as a doctor in the hospital. "Where is your spider squad? Can't they take you back?" Chen Ye said as he looked at Miles, who turned into a mosaic from time to time. But at the same time, he also knew that Miles couldn't stay in this universe for too long, otherwise his life would be in danger. Chen Ye remembered that if Miles didn't have the special bracelet, he wouldn't be able to live too long in the parallel universe. But this special bracelet seemed to be given to him later. Chen Ye also wanted to find an opportunity to see Spider-Man's base camp, where there are at least 1,000 Spider-Mans from different parallel universes. It would be so cool to make friends there, but it seems that only Spider-Man can enter that place, so we have to think of a way. When Miles heard this answer, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. They all returned to their respective universes through the collider. Unless there is a collider in this universe, I don't know how to go back. He patted Miles on the shoulder and comforted him. Don't be too sad, there will always be a solution to the problem. Miles raised his head, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Really? Do you have any solution? Then why don't you stay here first? I have a lot of empty rooms in my house. You probably have nowhere to go. Chen Ye invited Miles. As long as Miles is there, he will definitely wait for other Spider-Mans to come to rescue, and then there will be a way to go to other universes together. Miles nodded gratefully. He knew Chen Ye was thinking about him. After all, he is now homeless and doesn't know anyone in this universe. Chen Ye in front of him is his only hope. Let's go, follow me back first. Chen Ye turned and left, followed by Miles. The system screen also had a new prompt. Congratulations to the host, Miles Morales has been successfully added as a friend. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the attribute, invisibility. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 10 friend points. Host, do you want to merge now? Merge immediately. Chapter 56. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The reward was a big one, but it was not enough. Chen Ye frowned as he looked at the reward, his heart full of doubts and dissatisfaction. This damn randomness actually gave him a skill he didn't need, invisibility. For him, this skill was useless. Was it for peeking at others? Chen Ye shook his head, trying to get rid of this idea from his mind. He thought he was not an upright person, but he really disdained to do such a mean thing. Moreover, if he wanted to see, with his observation hockey, he could see through everything. Chen Ye mainly wanted the spider sense, so that he could pretend to be Spider-Man and go into the Spider-Verse to meet a bunch of Spider-Mans. In a short while, Chen Ye returned to the restaurant with Miles. At this moment, the Good Luck restaurant was surrounded by Jean Bing's bodyguards, all of whom had serious expressions, as if they were facing a great enemy. Bullseye was also standing among them. He stood at the door, guarding the restaurant door tightly, and not allowing anyone to approach easily. As soon as Bullseye saw Chen Ye coming, he immediately showed an expression of help on his face. He seemed a little helpless and a little embarrassed, like a trapped child seeing a savior. Chen Ye looked at Bullseye's appearance and couldn't help but joked, "Are you punished to stand?" Standing at the door as a security guard. This sentence seemed to touch Bullseye's heart. He stepped forward, grabbed Chen Ye's shoulders tightly, and said excitedly, "Brother, I'm so miserable. I was obviously arranged to another battlefield by the boss. I wanted to say that I had completed the task perfectly and I didn't ask for any benefits. I didn't expect that the damn Mrs. Gao would make a feint to the east and attack in the west. If something happens to the boss's wife, you won't see my brother today. You must help me beg for mercy later." Chen Ye comforted him and said, Okay, stop complaining. If Uncle Jean Bing really wanted to punish you, you would be a corpse. Come in with me. Then he turned around and said to Miles behind him, "Miles, follow me." Miles nodded and followed them silently. At this time, Bullseye saw the little black spider Miles behind him. Bullseye's pupils were shocked. He pointed at Miles and then looked at Chen Ye. "Brother, you are not the most annoying one. I am just a child and I didn't do anything wrong. Besides, I am still useful." Chen Ye glanced at Bullseye indifferently, knowing what Bullseye wanted to say. Chen Ye hated black people, but Chen Ye was not the kind of person who hated all black people without distinction. What he hated were those black people who were self-indulgent and reckless, excluding the underage and innocent Miles. There were many black orphans in Hell's Kitchen, and Chen Yen adopted them. If they dared to commit a crime, there would be no light or heavy crimes in Chen Ye's place, all of which were capital crimes. Chen Ye did not hate all black people. For example, a certain deceased basketball superstar, Chen Ye admired him very much. Besides, the little black spider was a unique existence in the entire multiverse, and it must be kept. Of course, if the little guy behind was disobedient, then don't blame Chen Ye for taking action. The three of them passed through surrounded by bodyguards. He entered the restaurant. Target looked at Chen Ye with gratitude and trust in his eyes. He knew Chen Ye would plead for him. In the restaurant, only Kingpin was sitting alone on the sofa, smoking a cigar and thinking. Wanda was gently comforting the panicked Vanessa, her hand gently patting the girl's back, trying to calm her fear. On the other side, Pietro was concentrating on playing video games with Richard. After all, children are easily attracted by games and instantly forget the fear just now. When Chen Ye and his group walked into the restaurant, all eyes were on him. Wanda immediately walked up to Chen Ye with a concerned look on her face. "You are not injured, what's the matter? I heard there is another Uncle Kingpin. What is the multiverse?" Although Kingpin did not speak, his eyes were filled with questions. He sat upright on the sofa, his hands folded in front of his chest, staring at Chen Ye, as if waiting for his explanation. Chen Ye was overwhelmed by so many questions, and then pulled Miles from the back. Then he introduced to everyone in surprise, "This is Miles, the Spider-Man from the same parallel universe as the other Kingpin. Let him answer your questions next." Miles was a little nervous when being stared at by so many eyes. At a loss, especially seeing the identical Kingpin. The familiar face made him a little stunned. Chen Ye gently patted Miles on the shoulder, signaling him to rest assured. Miles took a deep breath, as if adjusting his emotions. Then, he began to explain this incredible news to everyone. Half an hour later, everyone finally digested the information. Miles said, "This story was so shocking that they felt like they had opened the door to another world. I didn't expect there to be a parallel universe. If so, are there many of me?" Quicksilver asked doubtfully, revealing a strong interest in this new concept in his eyes. Kingpin, who was standing aside, looked at his wife and children with a face full of affection, with mixed feelings in his heart. When he thought of Vanessa's fate in the ordinary universe, he couldn't help but be afraid. Kingpin understood himself in the parallel universe very well. If it were him, he would probably make the same choice, but now, this decision was destroyed by the little black spider in front of him. Kingpin couldn't help but be furious and stared at Miles. "Boy, do you know who killed my wife and children in the parallel universe?" Jean Bing asked Miles in his deep voice, with a threatening and murderous tone. If it was Miles in front of him who killed them, then Jean didn't mind avenging himself in the parallel universe. Miles was frightened by Jean Bing's sudden momentum. "Uncle Jean Bing, don't scare the children. He didn't kill them. It was all an accident." Chen Ye came to the rescue. He knew Jean Bing's anger and pain at the moment, but he also knew that it was not Miles' fault. After listening, Jean Bing took a deep breath and retracted the fierce killing intent. His eyes became a little complicated, staring at Chen Ye, as if waiting for his explanation. Seeing Jean Bing's obvious desire to get to the bottom of it, Chen Ye sighed helplessly and decided to tell the truth. "The Kingpin of that parallel universe told me that his wife and children died in a car accident." As for the reason, Chen Ye would not tell him that it was because the Kingpin of that universe was fighting with Spider-Man Peter Parker, and then Vanessa couldn't bear it and drove away with her son and was hit by a car and died. When he said this, the doubt in Kingpin's eyes became stronger. He could see that Chen Ye was holding back and didn't tell the whole truth. Miles on the side looked at Chen Ye in confusion. He was also there at the time, so why didn't he hear the Kingpin of the parallel universe say this? Chen Ye quickly said to Pietro, "Pietro, go to my room to get the key and take this little guy upstairs." Pietro wanted to refuse, but after seeing the eyes of Chen Ye and Wanda, he could only agree obediently. He knew in his heart that it would be better not to disobey their wishes at this time. When leaving, Pietro was still muttering, "Obviously my sister could take the baby." But no one paid any attention to him. Chapter 57. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing that it was getting late, Jean Bing patted his thighs with both hands, as if preparing for the important speech. "Then we'll leave first, after all, Vanessa is exhausted tonight." Then he told Bullseye to drive outside and wait. Before leaving, Jean Bing took a deep look at Chen Ye, his eyes full of complexity and relief. He said earnestly, "Child, the future of Hell's Kitchen is in your hands. You have grown into an outstanding leader, and I believe you have the ability to lead this place to a better future. after this incident and after hearing about his own experience in the parallel universe, Kingpin decided to retire and accompany Vanessa and Richard. After all, Chen Ye is indeed more capable and better than him. After hearing what Kingpin said, Chen Ye said, "No, I just want to be a landlord in my restaurant quietly." Chen Ye smiled bitterly helplessly. The twists and turns during this period made him feel exhausted, and he only longed for an ordinary life. However, Kingpin said in an unquestionable tone, "This is an order, you must accept it. Wanda will help you manage the affairs here, and I believe she is capable enough for this position. I will send someone to notify the people in the underground world later, and I will introduce them to the new leader. Child, I am old. There is no place for me in the new era, it's your turn." Then without saying anything to Chen Ye, he took Vanessa and Richard away. Just as Chen Ye was about to struggle, the system sounded another prompt. "Congratulations to the host, Wilson Grant Fisk's favorability has been raised to full stars. Congratulations to the host, Wilson Grant Fisk has become your family member. Congratulations on getting a point of family member. Congratulations to the host, Richard Fisk's favorability has been raised to full stars. Congratulations to the host, Vanessa's favorability has been raised to full stars. Congratulations. Congratulations to the host, currently there are 9/10 family members. Please keep up the good work. Only one more point is left to unlock the exclusive skill." After reading the system prompt, Chen Ye understood Jean Bing's idea, so he didn't say anything more. Then, Chen Ye's mood became a little heavy. He looked at the system interface and sighed helplessly. He still needed a family member's favorability to unlock the exclusive skills, which made him feel a little melancholy. Just as he was lost in thought, the system prompted again. A new line of text appeared in front of Chen Ye. Congratulations to the host, Wanda Django Maximoff's favorability has been raised to full stars. Congratulations to the host, Wanda Django Maximoff has become your family member. Congratulations to the host, you now have 10/10 family members. Congratulations to the host for upgrading the family warrior, LV3. Congratulations to the host, unlock the exclusive skill, LV1 on your right. Chen Ye opened his mouth in surprise when he saw this series of prompts. He couldn't believe his eyes, and hurriedly looked up and looked around, trying to find Wanda. Wanda was sitting quietly by the side, smiling at him. There was a satisfied and reassuring expression on her face, as if she had found her true home. The two looked at each other for a while, and Chen Ye seemed to understand something instantly. Chen Ye looked at Wanda, and a warm current surged in his heart. He understood that Wanda had been silently supporting and caring for him, not leaving. Chen Ye asked softly, with a hint of tenderness and reluctance in his tone, "Not leaving?" Wanda replied with a smile, "I have found my biological father and understood my life experience. There is nothing to regret. This is my home, my family is here, why should I leave?" Wanda looked at Chen Ye and replied. Then, Wanda stood up and left the restaurant. She glanced at Chen Ye and said with a smile, "It's getting late, go to bed early. You've worked hard all day today." Chen Ye watched Wanda leave, then he turned off the lights in the restaurant and went up to his room on the second floor. In the spacious room on the second floor, Chen Ye sat in a comfortable chair and finally had time to carefully study his newly acquired titles and skills. He opened the system interface and read every piece of information carefully. Family Man LV3. When there is a family member on the field, the host's combat power increases by 20%, and the host's family's combat power increases by 15%. Exclusive skill, LV1 on your right. When the host uses this skill, no matter where he is, can actively choose to summon a family member to the right of the host. Cooling time, 24 hours. October 15th. Before the next upgrade, the name of this system skill is Too Careless. It actually uses the expression on your right. Shouldn't it be more poetic or shocking? Besides, isn't this plagiarism? This is not completely plagiarizing Captain America's on your left in Avengers 4, however, the effect of the skill made him brighten up. System, so this skill can be upgraded, right? Chen Ye asked the system. Yes, after the skill is upgraded, the family members that can be summoned will also be upgraded. The system replied. After listening, Chen Ye raised another question again, does this anywhere refer to this universe? Or? Yes, no matter which universe you are in, you can summon your family members regardless of restrictions. Chen Ye instantly understood that this skill is quite invincible, and this time the skill is still actively selected for summoning, not random summoning. If he summons a powerless ordinary person like Vanessa, he will just send her away. However, if he can actively choose the object to summon, then at the critical moment, he can summon the most suitable person to help him. Then Chen Ye can call for people at any time when he goes to other parallel universes, such as the Spider-Man universe. Host, you currently have 5 family points. Do you need to draw a lottery? The system asked. Chen Ye thought for a while, then replied, not for the time being. He knew that what happened tonight would definitely be heard by everyone in Hell's Kitchen tomorrow. At that time, he will get a lot of friend points. With these friend points, he can make a 10 draw. After all, Chen Ye was brainwashed by the game company in his previous life, and always felt that there would be a guarantee for 10 draw. In addition, too many things happened today, and Chen Ye felt a little tired. He wanted to have a good rest for a night to recover his energy. Tomorrow, when he is refreshed, it will be more effective to draw a lottery, so, Chen Ye decided to rest first. He lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and began to fall asleep. In his dream, he dreamed that he used his skills to summon various powerful family members, fighting side by side with them to fight against those powerful enemies together. On the other side, the news of Jin Bing's abdication and Chen Ye's succession spread like wildfire. The handover of power by this big boss who once controlled the entire Hell's Kitchen attracted widespread attention from both inside and outside the community. Chapter 58. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, the residents of Hell's Kitchen knew what happened yesterday. They talked excitedly and were happy for Chen Ye's victory. The whole Hell's Kitchen was immersed in a joyful atmosphere, as if a victory had changed their fate. At the same time, shops in Hell's Kitchen also offered discounts to celebrate Chen Ye's victory. Whether it was restaurants, supermarkets, or street vendors, they all hoped to attract more customers to patronize by taking advantage of this festive atmosphere. People flocked into shops to buy their favorite products, and the business activities of the entire Hell's Kitchen became unusually active. Some people even took photos of Chen Ye and began to parade in Hell's Kitchen. They held up photos and shouted Chen Ye's name, expressing their respect and gratitude for this hero. The parade was getting longer and longer, and more people joined in, sharing the joy and pride. Among the parade crowd, there was an old man who was once a victim of the Hell's Kitchen gang. He held Chen Ye's photo tightly. With tears in his eyes, he said, I finally see hope for our Hell's Kitchen. Chen Ye is our real hero. Although his voice was hoarse, it was full of strength and determination. As time went by, more and more people joined the parade. They may have had doubts about Chen Ye, but at this moment, they were all willing to believe in him and follow him to a better future. They shouted Chen Ye is the Lord of Hell, and this slogan seemed to have a kind of magic, attracting more and more people to gather together. At this time, the system prompts were also increasing. Congratulations to the host. Hell's Kitchen resident E added the host as a friend. Congratulations to the host. Matthew Michael Murdoch added the host as a friend. And Chen Ye had no idea what was happening outside, and had just woken up from a dream. Chen Ye was still immersed in the dream. He had just had a very strange dream, dreaming that a large group of Deadpools were chasing them frantically in Hell's Kitchen, as if they wanted to kill them all. This dream made Chen Ye feel scared, and he even felt his heartbeat accelerated after waking up. He went to the bathroom and washed his face with cold water to wake up. Then he opened the system panel to understand the current situation. However, he was stunned by everything in front of him. The system panel was densely packed with friend prompts. Is there an incredible guy sneaking in here? Chen Ye looked at one of the familiar names and said to himself, why did this Daredevil add a friend? Chen Ye decided to find a time to talk to Daredevil. After all, Hell's Kitchen is still short of staff. Daredevil happened to be a lawyer, and he was also a rare talent in Hell's Kitchen. The exciting part is here again. System, how many friend points do I have now? Chen Ye rubbed his hands and asked nervously. The system prompt sounded again, you now have 552 friend points. Do you want to exchange them for family points? This number made Chen Ye feel ecstatic, as expected. Finally, it was enough for 10 consecutive draws. Exchange now, Chen Ye said hurriedly. Exchange successful, there are currently 10 family points. Do you want to draw a lottery? Let's draw 10 consecutive draws, Chen Ye said domineeringly. As his words fell, the roulette wheel began to turn slowly, and every turn pulled Chen Ye's heartstrings. He stared at the roulette wheel closely, as if looking for something. Congratulations to the host, you got the Vongala Eye template card. Congratulations to the host, you got the Sky Ring. Congratulations to the host, you got the Storm Ring. Congratulations to the host. Congratulations to the host, you got the Koyate Stark template card. Congratulations to the horse spell. Chen Ye's mood was like a roller coaster at the moment, flying in the sky for a while, and then suddenly diving down. The result of this lottery is really love-hate. System, can't you draw all the rings at once? You have to draw them one by one, and waste my 7 lottery opportunities. Chen Ye complained. Chen Ye looked at the 7 rings in front of him, and couldn't help feeling annoyed. However, the system didn't seem to hear his complaints, and was still silent as always. Chen Ye shook his head helplessly and began to carefully count these. The reward, first of all, the template of Vongala Eye is definitely for Chen Ye's best friend Vongala Eye. Chen Ye even suspects that the system's lottery is not random. As for the 7 rings, they just correspond to the 7 guardians of the Vongala family. This wave, the Vongala family is epically strengthened. As for the template card of Koyate Stark, Chen Ye was a little confused at first. Could it be that he drew Tony's relative? After reading the introduction, I found out that it was one of the 10 blades in death. The guy ranked first. Chen Ye was very satisfied with this template. After all, this guy's ability is pretty good. He can split himself into many wolves. The last horse spell can cure all diseases and restore damaged items to their original state. Chen Ye can just match it with the previous senzu beans and let Deadpool try to see if he can restore his face. Then Chen Ye said to the system, give me these 2 templates. Automatically find family members with high matching degree with the template card for the host. Matching successful, detected that the host has a family member, Vongala Eye, and the matching rate with the template card is as high as 99%. Does the host use the Vongala Eye template card? Matching successful, detected that the host has a family member, John Wick, and the matching rate with the template card is as high as 75%. Does the host use the Koyate Stark template card? The system voice said in Chen Ye's mind. Use. Chen Ye replied with a little surprise. Chen Ye was not surprised by Vongala Eye, but he did not expect that John Wick actually had a matching degree of 75% with this 10 blades. Congratulations to the system for successful use. Vongala Eye and John Wick have successfully merged the template card. The host has been successfully synchronized. System, open my panel. Chen Ye just wanted to see the new changes in the panel. Name, Chen Ye. Race, human. Title, family hero LV3, Lord of Hell LV1. Skills, gravity fruit, magnetic field control, death flame, invisibility, self-healing ability, high-speed movement, chaos magic, observation hockey, hollow, return to blade, hollow flash. Talent, a person cursed by knowledge, son of luck. Items, senzu beans, horse charm, eternal spirit blade, lost drive, eternal memory, new elemental blueprint, 7 Vongala rings. Friends, Pietro Maximoff, family, Kane, family, John Wick, family, Winston, family, Marcus, family, Wanda Django Maximoff, family, Wilson Fisk, family, Vongala Eye, family. Wade Wilson, 4 stars, Wade Winston Wilson, 3 stars, Tony Stark, 3 stars, Ethan, 3 stars, Stephen Strange, 2 stars. Matthew Michael Murdoch, 1 star, Miles, 1 star. Exclusive skills, LV1 on your right. Chen Ye looked at his new title curiously and asked, System, what's the matter with the title of Lord of Hell? This title is given to you by the public, just like the titles of Captain America and Iron Man. Chen Ye was confused. He didn't expect to get a new title just after getting out of bed. However, the title of Lord of Hell is not bad, at least it is much better than Spider-Man and Deadpool. Chen Ye stopped thinking about it and was proud of his current panel. This panel is not only luxurious in appearance, but also fully functional. It can be said to have long range, defense and speed. It is simply a hexagonal warrior. Afterwards, Chen Ye couldn't wait to go downstairs to find Deadpool to try the effect of the horse spell and see if he could restore his face. Chapter 59. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very happy. As soon as Chen Ye walked downstairs, Deadpool came over in a hurry. While dancing and shouting excitedly, he said, "Chen Ye, you guys were so exciting yesterday, but you didn't call me. Parallel universe, I really want to see what I look like in another universe, whether I am more handsome than me." Chen Ye shook his head helplessly. "Please, blame me if you want to make money. As for whether there is you, go ask Miles yourself." Chen Ye certainly knew that there was not only one Deadpool in the parallel universe, but also many weird and colorful Deadpools. He remembered that there seemed to be a universe where the Deadpool was a handsome guy without disfigurement, but he couldn't remember which universe it was. Hearing the word making money, Deadpool immediately became energetic and put his arm around Chen Ye's shoulders with a playful smile. "Hey, brother, this time thanks to you. I made a full $20 million yesterday. I can go pick up girls again. Chen Ye, when are we going to have an adventure in a parallel universe?" Deadpool asked curiously. "We have to find a way to go to a parallel universe." "Don't bother, here you go. Eat it, this thing can heal your face." Chen Ye looked at Deadpool in front of him and threw a magic bean to him helplessly. Deadpool caught the magic bean and looked at it with suspicion. "This little thing can heal my face. This can't be poison." Chen Ye rolled his eyes. "Poison can't kill you, a swordsman. As long as you eat it, I guarantee that you will be back to normal." Deadpool looked at Chen Ye with a loving expression. "As long as you give it, I will eat poison." After that, he swallowed the magic bean in one gulp. The next second, the magic beans began to work their magic, and the pits on Deadpool's face began to gradually flatten, and his skin became smooth and delicate. Deadpool jumped around happily, looking in the mirror from time to time, and posing from time to time. He couldn't wait to run to the street and ask the residents on the roadside, "Am I handsome?" As a result, he was mistaken for a pervert by the residents and they punched and kicked him. After a while, Deadpool finally came back, looking satisfied. He said to Chen Ye gratefully, "Brother, thank you." Before Chen Ye could respond, his face suddenly became ugly. He found that Deadpool's face began to slowly become pitted again. He guessed that this was because Deadpool's self-healing factor and cancer cells repelled each other again, resulting in side effects. The magic beans can only heal one-time injuries, not continuous healing. Deadpool also realized his condition, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. "Brother, I know I may become ugly again, but at least I am happy now." There was a hint of bitterness in his voice, a kind of pain that could not be concealed. Deadpool, the man who had conquered countless people with his handsome face and charming charm, would actually worry about his appearance. However, he still maintained that unruly smile. After saying that, he wanted to leave. Chen Ye saw it and quickly stopped Deadpool, and then said, "Don't go, I still have a way, this should be able to solve your problem." His voice was full of firmness and determination, as if telling Deadpool that he would never give up easily. Deadpool suppressed his frustration and continued to play tricks. "Great Lord Deadpool, even if it is like this, it is still the most handsome. After all, it has been so many years, and I am used to it. Don't worry. You don't have to comfort me." He tried to use humor to cover up his uneasiness, but his eyes revealed his true feelings. He thought Chen Ye just told a lie to comfort him, so he still maintained his usual mean style to prove that he was fine. Chen Ye took out the horse charm and handed it to Deadpool. Deadpool curiously played with the horse charm in his hand and asked curiously, "How to use this thing?" Chen Ye explained, "Why don't you sneeze and try it? This thing can remove cancer cells from your body. This thing can cure all diseases. The premise is that you have to carry it with you all the time." Hearing this explanation, Deadpool couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at the horse charm in his hand, his eyes full of confusion and surprise. Is this true? Can he really get rid of this devilish disease? Then the horse charm shot out a beam of light, and a few seconds later, Deadpool returned to his original appearance, and there were no more pits on his face. There was no cancer cell invasion in his body, and he turned back to the handsome man. Deadpool didn't jump up and down like before, but stood quietly in front of the mirror, carefully observing his change. His heart was full of anxiety and expectation, fearing that all this beauty was just a dream, fearing that his face would change back in a while. Chen Ye also sat aside, watching all this silently. He knew Deadpool's mood at the moment, and understood his worries. He said nothing, just sat there quietly, accompanying Deadpool through this important moment. Time seemed to become unusually slow, and every minute seemed like an endless torture. Half an hour later, Deadpool finally breathed a sigh of relief. He found that his face had not changed back, and there was no discomfort in his body. He finally got rid of the torture of the disease and found his handsome self again. At this moment, Deadpool's mood was complicated. He felt ecstatic, but more grateful. This thing must be very precious. Deadpool looked at the horse charm in his hand. After all, he had looked for countless ways, but he couldn't solve the problem on his body. The charm in front of him could make him recover so easily. It's okay, keep it for yourself, there is only one in the world. This thing is not as precious as my family. Chen Ye waved his hand. Thank you, brother. Deadpool said in a trembling voice. My life will be yours from now on. This is his promise from the heart, and it is also an expression of his deep gratitude to Chen Ye. Unexpectedly, Chen Ye gave him such a precious thing casually. This made Deadpool extremely grateful. Deadpool has always been a laughing and joking person, always using humor and jokes to cover up the pain and sadness in his heart. However, at this moment, he rarely played tricks, but expressed his gratitude in the most sincere way. Now everything has changed. He finally got rid of the shackles of the disease and found his handsome self again. He felt a kind of ease and freedom that he had never had before. Congratulations to the host. Wade Winston Wilson's favorability has been raised to 4 stars. Congratulations to the host, Wade Winston Wilson. Congratulations to the host, Wade Winston Wilson's favorability has been raised to full stars. Chen Ye was sincerely happy for Deadpool. After all, this was not a movie plot, but a living reality. He couldn't imagine that if he had to live with Deadpool's previous face, he might choose to end his life early, and the point was that he couldn't die. Deadpool's life before was really worse than death. After Deadpool became a family member, if Chen Ye really went to a parallel universe, he could also take this Deadpool with him. After all, Deadpool, this social bull, is still quite useful. Just at this time, the little black spider Miles also came down. Chen Ye, do you want to go with me to pick up girls tonight? To thank you, I'll treat you tonight. Deadpool returned to his frivolous appearance in the past, and Chen Ye's newly emerged touch instantly disappeared. Chen Ye was just moved by Deadpool, but the next second Chen Ye just wanted Deadpool to get out. Then Chen Ye ignored Deadpool and turned to Miles, who had just come downstairs, and said, "Hurry up and have breakfast. I will take you to see someone today. Maybe he can find a way to get you back." Miles seemed a little curious and asked, "Who is it?" "A playboy." Chen Ye's answer was concise and clear, without even looking at Miles. Chapter 60. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were in a mess. On the other side, Hawkeye and Natasha had already withdrawn from Hell's Kitchen, and they knocked on the door of Nick Fury's office. Then Nick Fury was giving Coulson a task. When Hawkeye and Natasha came in, Nick Fury and Coulson stopped talking. Coulson left the office tactfully, leaving Hawkeye, Natasha and Nick Fury to discuss things. Hawkeye and Natasha reported all the information and details in Hell's Kitchen, including Chen Ye's performance and his transformation into Kamen Rider Eternity. After listening to this, Nick Fury rubbed his temples, and then slowly said, "Even Magneto can't do anything to Chen Ye. And what about that Kamen Rider Eternity? Why Chen Ye controls this technology, we really don't know anything. Haven't you been monitoring Chen Ye? Didn't you find out who he has contacted? You know, such a complex mecha cannot be designed by Chen Ye alone." He asked a series of questions, trying to uncover the mystery behind Chen Ye. Chen Ye's threat became more and more threatening to him, like an invisible ghost. making Nick Fury feel an uncontrollable sense of frustration. Nick Fury really hates this feeling of being out of control. In response to the director's question, Natasha thought for a moment and said, "We have been monitoring Chen Ye, and we have not found any suspicious people in contact with Chen Ye. The only suspicious thing is that Chen Ye brought a little boy back yesterday. Unless we can send someone to infiltrate Chen Ye's core team, we may be able to get access to these secrets. But Hawkeye, Chen Ye, and I all know each other. And ordinary agents can't get into Chen Ye's team. Chen Ye seems to have the ability to see through people's hearts. Chen Ye has too many abilities," Natasha said with a serious face. "Have you found out the identity of that little boy?" Black Egg asked. "I have found out. His name is Miles. He is a little boy from a poor family. I guess Chen Ye took him in for a day because he felt sorry for him." Hawkeye on the side replied hurriedly. Hawkeye would never have thought that he was investigating Miles in this universe. Black Egg knocked heavily on the table, and then took out a copy of today's latest report for Natasha and Hawkeye to see. "Take a look, what do you think?" Black Egg's eyes shuttled back and forth between the two of them, with a hint of seriousness in his tone. Hawkeye picked up the report and quickly scanned it. When he saw the name Chen Ye, the Lord of Hell, a joking smile appeared on his lips. "Chen Ye, the Lord of Hell, this name is quite domineering. It is much more domineering than my title Hawkeye." He tried to ease the atmosphere, but he found that this joke did not have the desired effect. He looked left and right, but no one responded to him. The only one who responded to him was the one eye of Director Black Egg, who stared at him. Hawkeye's heart trembled, and he quickly said seriously, "Director, I think this is a good thing. Chen Ye's replacement of Jean Bing can further stabilize the unstable place of Hell's Kitchen. And, I think Chen Ye hates illegal things such as drug trafficking. He also pays for his children to go to school at his own expense." Hawkeye really thought so in his heart, however. Just as he finished speaking, Black Braised Egg beside him slammed the table and stood up. "You are all too naive." Black Braised Egg's voice was filled with anger. "Chen Ye's threat is much greater than Kingpin's. Kingpin was just an ordinary person before. The reason we didn't get rid of him was because he was useful and we could control him. Now let Chen Ye take over Hell's Kitchen. Is there anyone who can control him? At that time, Hell's Kitchen is his, Chen Ye's territory, or the territory of the federal government. But what Chen Ye did was indeed for the good of those ordinary people. Besides, if Chen Ye really wanted to do something, we don't seem to have the strength to stop him." Natasha tried to refute. After all, Natasha had witnessed Chen Ye's endless means with her own eyes. From the beginning, she thought Chen Ye had only a little strength. To the endless means later, maybe Chen Ye had more means that he had not used. He does his own thing according to his own will. Look at how many people died in Hell's Kitchen yesterday. Black Sauce Egg continued, his tone full of accusations and dissatisfaction. If Chen Ye really thinks these people are wrong, he should come to federal government, not by himself. He doesn't take the federal government seriously at all. The cold voice of Black Egg echoed in the air, with strong hostility and dissatisfaction. So our shield must have enough power to fight against people like Chen Ye. After saying that, Black Egg turned on the screen, and saw the 5 big words Avengers written on the screen. Avengers? Hawkeye and Natasha said in surprise. Then, Black Egg showed pictures of superheroes, including the big green guy, Tony who had just become Iron Man, Professor X in a wheelchair, a man with an arm that could stretch, and Captain America. These superheroes each have powerful abilities, and their existence is undoubtedly an important force to fight crime and chaos. Even Natasha and Hawkeye saw their own photos. Black Egg looked at Natasha and Hawkeye and said, "Yes, you two are also part of the plan. You are one of the most experienced and capable agents in the world. I need you to lobby these superheroes to join our alliance." Hawkeye looked at the photo of Captain America, his eyes full of shock. He pointed at the photo, with an unbelievable doubt in his tone. "If I'm not mistaken, this should be Captain America, isn't he dead? How did he join this plan? Does S.H.I.E.L.D. already have the technology to resurrect the dead?" Or find someone else to be Captain America. Hawkeye couldn't believe that the director would include a dead person in the plan. The story of Captain America is well known to everyone. Every citizen of the Federation knows this person, so everyone knows that he died in the end. Nick Fury showed a mysterious smile. Don't worry about this. During the time you were monitoring Chen Ye, we fished out the frozen Captain America in a place in the Arctic. He is currently recovering. I will take you to see it later. Nick Fury continued, with a hint of pride in his tone. Hearing the news, Hawkeye showed an expression of disbelief on his face. He opened his mouth wide and couldn't speak for a long time. This is simply incredible. Captain America is resurrected. This is simply unbelievable. So the most urgent task is to gather these people. Nick Fury said seriously. Got it. Hawkeye and Black Widow answered in unison, and left without stopping. Looking at the two people leaving, Nick Fury stood in the office, looking at the scene outside the window, but his thoughts drifted away and muttered to himself, I hope I don't have to call Danvers back.